I have recently been made aware of a website called StopKillingGames.com and an associated European Citizens Initiative. Long story short, on the basis of consumer rights and an interest in media preservation, Ross Scott, aka Accursed Farms, and the other supporters of this petition want to see the matter of live service games becoming completely inaccessible following end of support discussed and addressed by the European Commission. Personally, I say go for it, and my support isn't even contingent on the precise contents of their petition or potential likely outcomes. My backing has a far more fundamental basis. See, video games aren't the only game you can play, and I'm not talking about board games or sport. The way I see it, for too long, discontented gamers have been stuck in the position of asking, what can I do to not get screwed? But the moves these gamers can make to deal with this challenge, they're not very powerful, especially not individually. They can beg, they can pay, or they can not pay. Oh, or they can petition the powers that be. But that option, the way they've done that here, that's dangerous. You may have heard one proximity effect abusing microphone rider proclaim, you haven't been precise enough, it's not perfect. Think of the effect this will have on the industry, the workload of the devs. It could affect the ability to produce live service games at all. If this goes somewhere and God forbid there's new legislation, what can the industry do to not get screwed? Exactly. Your turn, bitch. Your turn to wrestle with that question. Your turn to fear having the rug pulled out from under you. I'm not necessarily hopeful that this initiative will have any success, but maybe, just maybe, the industry should address this before something does come along to truly ram them up the ass, before the karma from exploiting uncertainty finally catches up with them. How many years have gamers had problems that, wash your hands, aren't yours? Time for you to have some problems that aren't theirs. Oh, but gamers will miss out. They'll miss out on wonderful experiences. So it will actually be your loss. Damn shame then, isn't it, that instead of addressing things on their own terms promptly, the industry seems content and complacent to let things tick along so long as the boiling point of dissatisfaction hasn't quite been reached yet. To my eyes, that's an irresponsible display of hubris and greed. Do you guys like metaphors? Here's one for you. It sucks that the suits want to use devs as human shields, but I don't negotiate with terrorists. That's my take on the consumer advocacy side of things, but we can end this little shorty on a more positive, inspirational note. Yesterday, I heard someone say something quite beautiful, and it really touched my heart.
Game preservation, I think, is very important. It's incredibly important. There is no greater loss than seeing stuff like that disappear. We have a history as developers, and that history is falling away. And I don't understand that.
Already, and increasingly, and who knows how much into the future, live service and multiplayer-only live service games even are part of that history. If current practices and what's normal means the end of such record, is that good? Forget legality, forget consumer advocacy. Is that good? I've heard some say things like, well, you know, a battle royale, for instance, it's about having all those people in a match. It's about the people. So any preservation is meaningless. Oh yeah, of course, sorry, silly me. Time to go start destroying all the ruins that we've preserved of things like amphitheaters that are not currently being used for events. Those places are about what occurred there, so there's no value in preserving the venue. Sorry, in case you couldn't tell, I think the opposite is true. I think such use, and other uses such as people have gotten married in MMOs, kinda cringe, but still they have, and they've proposed in them and all sorts of other things. Contrary to making such games less worthy of preservation or less meaningful to preserve, or that it's somehow not really preservation, I think such practice elevates these games beyond merely being a piece of game dev history, and into being a cultural artifact relevant to mankind. Plus, consider how little physical space you need compared to something like maintaining a listed building. How convenient. And that's really cool to me. Forget the petition again for a second. Forget actual action. The concept. I just think it's really neat, but some disagree.
How many of you have felt negatively when an MMO dies? Or when a live service game dies? Oh, dead game. There's only 5 people online. Why would I play that? So why would you want to preserve a game in that state? That doesn't make any sense to me.
None. No sense at all. Really? Can't fathom for a second why someone might want to be able to load up such a world and be there alone, or Maybe with one other special person.
Live service games are a great way to get away from the real world. They're about social interaction between players. Some people get married in them. Some people met their spouse in them and then got married in them. It's a really cool thing for a point in time in which you're having that social experience.
Oh, I see. Just for that point in time, Mr. Logical Robot here would never be so sentimental as to ever have any desire to revisit the place he proposed or got married. Although this is an argument against the initiative, it goes far beyond the initiative itself. This is a stance on preservation. In terms of having fun or it being enjoyable or being the experience of it at its peak, yeah, it's not going to be as fun or the same experience of playing it, but how does it become less valuable as a historical record? The dev history he was so concerned with only exists in the interaction between players in that world and not the game itself in any way whatsoever. I'm sorry, I'm just shocked to learn that all those MMOs I went purely solo in, I never actually experienced in any way. Turns out that video games are just the people we met along the way, I guess. This is the guy who's been calling people disingenuous? Look man, stop this. Just say you don't ever want to have to deal with this shit. Which, funnily enough, is how I feel about all the problems with live service games too. But as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.